Hello, my lovely friends. I know I've been quiet for a while. Sometimes life takes us somewhere else, and this time it took me all the way to Australia. I didn't plan to disappear, but the moment I arrived, everything inside me slowed down. Australia felt different. Warm air, soft light, quiet mornings by the sea. I walked, I listened, and I thought about you. About this channel. About our stories. And I realized something simple. Sometimes you have to step away to remember why you love what you do. So this story isn't just about a trip to Australia. It's about coming back to you, to stories, to home. Thank you for waiting for me. I never thought I'd end up in Australia. My kids had been nagging me for years to take a proper holiday. "Mum, you're always so busy," they'd say. "Go see the world." So, at the beginning of this year, I booked a 2-week trip to Australia. It was my first time flying that far, and honestly, I was a bit nervous. But off I went with a suitcase full of sensible clothes and a guidebook I'd bought from the local bookshop. In the trip I recently took, everything started just like that. The flight was endless, about 22 hours with a stop in Dubai. I sat next to a chatty Aussie bloke who told me all about barbecues and beaches. By the time we landed in Sydney, I was knackered but excited. The airport was massive, and the customs officers were friendly, asking about my plans. I told them I wanted to see the sights, maybe spot some kangaroos, and try some proper Aussie food. They laughed and said, "You'll love it, mate." My first few days were in Sydney. I stayed in a small hotel near the harbour. Waking up to that view of the Opera House was brilliant. I took a ferry to Manly Beach one morning. The water was so blue and there were surfers everywhere. I didn't swim, too cold for me, but I walked along the sand and had fish and chips from a takeaway, proper greasy ones, with vinegar. That afternoon I climbed the harbour bridge. Not the full climb, mind you, I'm not that adventurous, just the pylon lookout. The views were stunning, and I snapped loads of photos to show the grandkids. On day 3, I joined a tour to the Blue Mountains. The coach picked me up early, and we drove out of the city. The scenery changed so quickly, from busy streets to eucalyptus forests. Our guide, a cheerful woman named Sarah, pointed out all the wildlife. We stopped at a viewpoint called Echo Point, and there were the Three Sisters rock formations. Legend has it their Aboriginal sisters turned to stone. Fascinating stuff. Then we hiked a short trail. I was puffing a bit, but it was worth it. At one point, I saw a wild wallaby hopping away. "That's not a kangaroo," Sarah said, "but close enough for your first spot." Back in Sydney, I explored the markets. Paddington Market was my favourite, full of arty stalls selling jewellery and clothes. I bought a necklace for my daughter and some Vegemite to try at home. That night, I treated myself to dinner at a seafood restaurant. Prawns on the barbie, they called it. Delicious, but spicy. I chatted with the waiter, who was from Melbourne. He convinced me to add a side trip there. So, on day 5, I flew to Melbourne. Short flight, thank goodness. The city felt different, more European, with trams rattling everywhere. I checked into an Airbnb in the city centre, a cosy flat with a kitchen. First thing, I visited the Queen Victoria Market. Huge place selling everything from fresh fruit to souvenirs. I tried a meat pie, flaky pastry with gravy inside. Not bad, but I prefer my Lancashire hot pot. Melbourne's laneways were a highlight. I wandered through Hosier Lane, covered in street art. Colourful murals everywhere, some political, some just fun. I met a group of tourists from Canada, and we ended up having coffee together. They were backpackers in their 20s, but we got on well. One evening, I went to a comedy show at the Comedy Festival. It was on while I was there. The comedians were hilarious, poking fun at Aussie life. I laughed so much my sides hurt, but not everything went smoothly. On day 7, I rented a car to drive along the Great Ocean Road. Big mistake for a Brit like me, driving on the left, but the roads were windy and full of tourists. I got lost near Apollo Bay and ended up in a tiny town with no signal on my mobile. Panicked a bit, but a local farmer helped me out. He drew a map on a napkin and gave me directions. "No worries," he said. "That's what everyone says in Australia. No worries. It's catchy." The Great Ocean Road was breathtaking. The 12 Apostles, those massive rock stacks in the sea, looked like something from a postcard. I stopped at every viewpoint, taking it all in. Saw some koalas in the trees too. One was munching eucalyptus leaves, completely ignoring the crowd. Cute, but apparently they're a bit smelly up close. That night, I stayed in a B&B in Port Campbell. The owner, an older lady like me, shared stories over tea. She'd moved from England 30 years ago, made me think about my own life. By week 2, I flew to Cairns for the Great Barrier Reef. That was the adventure part. I took a boat tour and snorkeled for the first time. The water was warm, and the coral was vibrant. Reds, blues, yellows. Fish swam right up to my mask. Saw a turtle too, but I got a bit seasick on the way back. Lesson learned, take tablets next time. Food-wise, I tried everything. Tim Tams, chocolate biscuits that are addictive, Lamingtons, sponge cake with coconut, and pavlova, meringue with fruit. Claimed it's Aussie, but I think Kiwis say it's theirs. Whatever, it was tasty. As the 2 weeks wrapped up, I felt different. More confident, maybe. I'd travelled alone, navigated new places, and made friends along the way. The flight home was long, but I had stories to tell. My kids picked me up at the airport, eager to hear. "Mum, you look tanned," they said. Australia had been a blast. Hot, wild, and full of surprises. If you're thinking of going, do it. No worries, right? This trip wasn't just a holiday. It was a small adventure that changed me. And this story was only the beginning. In the next videos, and on my podcast channel, I've got different learning programs planned for you with real stories, real life, and real English. So if you're coming with me, stay close. The next journey is about to begin.